Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Goodwood Festival of Speed 2024 and the Alfa Romeo stand. For those of you walking around, if you can see the big Alfa Romeo box with the most beautiful car made in, I think, the last 30 years or so, head on over. I have the chief designer of Alfa Romeo, Alejandro Mesonero, with me. Good to see you again, my friends.
Good to see you, Peter.
We are going to be taking a deep dive into this beautiful Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale, walking around talking about the design elements on this car, the inspiration. I want to dive into your brain and your mind to find out just where the inspiration for this car came from, but also to talk about how that translates into the cars that many of us can afford, because I would love to be able to have one of these, but sadly,
me too,
you're only making 33 and they're all sold. So I'm out of luck there. So where should we start? Do you want to just give us a bit of a background? Where did the inspiration for this car come from? And then we'll walk round and kind of look at some of the detail.
Well, first of all, we started the project in, it was I think May 22, so it's been quite fast.
That's really quick.
That's really quick because, we were very much sure and convinced of what we wanted to create for Alfa Romeo. So we went, let's say, in one shot, straight line, full speed, with a small team, passionate people of the brand, of what we do. So,
wow.
And we presented actually the car last year in August 23.
And I came out because you filmed it September.
Yeah.
So that's even quicker timeline.
What you see here is actually is not one of the production cars. Is the what we call the design mock-up. So it's representative of the final car around 90%. There are some things we want to improve for production. Now we are doing the first prototype. We are building the first prototype, what we call the car 00. That is not a customer car. It will go to our museum, so you will be able to see it in the next year or a little bit more in the museum. And then the first customer car will be delivered at the end of this year. And the last customer car will be in early 2026. So 33 cars that were already sold just by looking to sketches, ideas, technical information. So many passionate people about Alfa Romeo that immediately we found the nice homes for these 33 cars, which will be, by the way, all different, one by one. I mean, absolutely unique.
Okay. Shall we start wandering around the car? Can we start off with the color, first of all? Because that color is beautiful. And I know the guy standing outside looking in through the windows, it might be tricky to pick up, but it's just the most iridescent red. It's beautiful.
It's called a Villa d'Este. It's, Alfa Romeo has to be red. Historically, it's one of the racing colors of our beautiful brand. And it's a 3-layer color. It's, let's say, the most classic configuration you can find in the 33 Stradale. So the red with the slightly goldish wheels. And you will see later the interior. But as I told you, I mean, all the cars are different. I think that around 15% of the customers went for this red, which is beautiful. But we have other colors, other configurations, which are also absolutely fantastic. The car changes dramatically, changing the color of the wheels, the color of the exterior, the interior, and so on. But I personally like, Peter, this one. I mean, if I was one of the lucky customers,
Stradale wheels, red.
I will get it like that.
But blue's a very historic color for this car as well, because of the Tipo 33.
Yeah, it was only from the 12 original cars built in 1967. They were all red, Alfa red, but there was one which was blue, called Blue Royale, because of the customer that owned the car. And then actually we opened, in the beginning, we wanted to make all the cars in red, just one blue, but then we opened the choice of colors, and then we have a few blues, we have beautiful yellows, green, blues, black even also. So at the end we have a big diversity of colors.
Amazing. Right, let's wander around the front of the car. For me, one of the signature views of any Alfa Romeo is the front view with the Scudetto and the offset number plate. Talk us through the front here, because if I remember rightly from seeing it in the studio shoot, you've got the beautiful milled detail.
Actually, the front end, is like the face of a person. This is the personality. This is what you remember the most. The expression of the eyes, the nose, the mouth, everything is here. And this is one of the things we wanted to do with this car. We wanted to, let's say, respect the original car from 1967, designed by Franco Scaglione. But we wanted to make it also a piece of contemporary design. So if you look at the front end, you have the eyes, let's say. The outer perimeter of the lamps is very similar to the original car. But what is happening inside is completely different because of technology. Also, we add some function. Let's say beauty and function in Alfa Romeo, they always go together. So we managed to get the headlamps on the inside of the headlamps, allow me to say, but also they are air intakes for the intercooler. So they have a double function. Just one curiosity that I can tell you about the headlamps is that you see 33 lines.
I was going to say, there's 33 of these, right? That's such a cool detail.
I think that this gives you, let's say, from far away, when you see the car in the rear view mirror or from far away, it gives you a kind of halo. It copies the shape of the headlamp, so you immediately recognize that this is a 33 Stradale. And we made 33 because we dedicated every single line to one customer. So in my studio, I have a technical plan with the 33 lines, and every line belongs to a customer. It has the name of the customer. The only one we can actually make public is the number 17, which is more or less halfway through in the lamp, which is the one from Valtteri Bottas.
That's a good customer to have.
That's a good customer. He helped us a lot with the technical advice, but also the design. He came, he said, it was fantastic to work with him.
Will he be doing development or helping with the drive development?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. And then the other big element in the front, you said it, is the Scudetto. So it's the typical triangular shape of Alfa Romeo. It's recognizable worldwide, universally wise. It was originally designed as an air intake in the old cars, after the war especially. But it has evolved in many different ways. I think we can count up to more than 40 different Scudetto in the history of Alfa Romeo. We started actually the design with the most classic shape of the Scudetto, which is just the triangular aluminum ring, let's say. But then we came with the idea of doing something a little bit more special, inspired on the Alfa 2000 GT from the 60s. And then we came up with this one, thinking, okay, maybe we can offer it to the customers as an alternative to the classic one, but thinking that, let's say, the majority of the customers will choose the classic one in a car like that. In fact, not actually. We have around 60% of the customers that went for this Scudetto that is quite new, let's say. It's based in our history, but it's a modern interpretation more than the classic one.
It's a standout piece for sure. And I just think the way the bonnet, these creases and intakes in here, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it gives the sense of direction. It's a kind of Scudetto shape, also the triangular shape. One of the things that I have to say that I like the most on the car is actually the subtlety of the surfacing around the wheel arch, with this line that actually starts from the window, this crease line, starts on the window, goes through the fender, and then just vanishes, it just disappears. It's a line that helps to direct or to control the light, the natural light, when it hits the body. So you create shadow and highlight by positioning the line in the right place. So it's something that you don't see the line when you look at the car 100 meters away, but then what you see is actually the effect that the line creates on the surface. Something very sophisticated, something that we like it a lot. It's something that is very simple, but very efficient. It's something that we did in the Junior also. Our little small.
We're going to talk about that very shortly, because I've just got back from Italy driving that car. I think when it's under lighting like this, it's one of these cars. And when I came to do the studio shoot, you walk around it, and every time you look at the car, you see something else. I've just spotted this beautiful kind of split here with those crease lines going down the bonnet. It's quite something. Front headlights. When you're taking a car that's as famous as the Tipo 33, then for me, perhaps one of the most beautiful cars ever made. Is that intimidating when you think, I'm going to kind of, I know it's not a direct, you know, the Mark II Tipo 30, but it's, everyone looks at this and goes, you've taken inspiration.
It's challenging because actually, and unfortunately, since 1967 and 2024, there was not a 33 Stradale history.
No.
So we had to fill the gap, let's say, and thinking, what we did with the designers is to think what would have happened on all those years if every 7 years we have had a new 33 Stradale. So we came up with this conclusion somehow. So we had to do this exercise of going back, taking the essence of the original car and try to imagine that in a modern way, in a contemporary way. I wouldn't say futuristic because it's not a car that is futuristic, but it's a contemporary, modern supercar, I would say. So this was the exercise. Try to respect the past, but make something that is contemporary, something that is modern, something that the customers, the 33 customers will be happy to have in their collection, something that is different from other cars that they have, because maybe it's a little bit more elegant, maybe it's a little bit more sporty or whatever, they find the reasons themselves, but it's different from other supercars. And the 33 Stradale was different from the other supercars at that time.
See, the thing I love about Italian is 33 Stradale, when you say it in English, doesn't sound very cool, but when you say it in Italian, everything sounds cool.
33 Stradale.
I know, it's amazing. It's amazing. So this car, for me, is all about theatre. The ultimate theatre, though, is when you open the door. So should we open the door and it's
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing anyway.
This is one of the things, Peter, that actually was essential in the design from the beginning to keep the spirit of the original cabin of the 33 Stradale. That was this combination between a very round and very round windshield with the elytra doors. So with the doors, with the glass that go inside of the body, let's say, to allow, because the 33 Stradale was extremely low, and to allow a quick access to the car in the racing, you had to have, let's say, some space to get inside. I think that the original car was thought for Le Mans. I didn't race it at Le Mans at the end, but you know how they start. The guys were running, opening the door and getting inside the car. So this actually is an advantage today because it's a spectacular feature. It's based on our history, and it gives you the functionality, because as you can get in, you will see that the car is extremely...
My mic pack. The other thing, so carbon tub. So I'm gonna. This is where my dreams start to kind of run away with me now, because I want to drive it home. But we'll see. It is.
As you see, it's a supercar, but it's still you can get in and out quite easily. Let's say so. I wouldn't say it's a supercar for everyday use, but almost. The interior is it's been thought with the same idea, the same philosophy as the exterior. That means it reminds you the original car. Even if 33 Stradale, the interior, there were two different interiors, but we took as inspiration the one that we like the most, the one of the concept car, and then you see the dashboard is extremely simple, with this surface just bending on the corner, and everything is very much dedicated to the driver. Extremely simple, because after discussing with the customers, what they wanted to have is something that was technologically advanced. So we have all the necessary technology here, but they wanted to have a very direct interface. So for instance, to explain you what I try to say, is that they didn't want, it was a very clear request, no buttons on the steering wheel. We want to have a steering wheel that steers the wheels. Basically, no buttons, the cars are getting too complicated, supercars, we're driving fast, I don't want to have so many distractions. So that was a kind of a challenge, but we made it. The screen also, the infotainment screen is an infotainment screen on demand, so it just goes down whenever you are needed, just by pushing one of the switches. So the car, at the end of the day, is very much done for driving and having pleasure of driving. All the switches are, the haptics are really direct. You have an action-reaction, there is a little click, there is a little noise that confirms that the action that you requested to the car is being done. on this console on the bottom, but also on the console on the top. For instance, on the top you have the window lifters. Which
I was going to say, this is, it's like being sat in a helicopter. It's the coolest thing. But I love the fact that all the switch gear is machined.
Yeah,
it's machined. And again, I've been very lucky to spend a bit of time with the Tipo 33, and you look inside that, and that's very reminiscent. These big old toggle switches. It's just beautiful. And then for me, I think the detail I love is this quadrifoglio just here.
Yeah,
just so cool.
Partenza veloce.
Yeah.
All the materials are real materials. That means there is no other materials than what you see. That means everything is leather, aluminum. Of course, the car is completely, personalized. There's also the possibility of putting carbon fiber, different kind of leathers, of course the colors. So the architecture is the same, the physical layout is the same, but the colors and the materials change dramatically from one car to the other. This is the most classic configuration. I particularly like it very much with this cut that was very characteristic of the 33 Stradale also, with this visual cut of the seats. We call it cannelloni in Italiano because it reminds you the cannellone.
Yeah.
And they are actually the seats and the doors are completely aligned in one single line, let's say. So
I've only just spotted the serpent detailing there.
Yeah, this is actually
really cool.
The Croce di Milano and the Biscione are actually the mesh of the speaker. So we kind of integrate the function. Yeah, what is behind is the speaker, so you don't see the mesh of the speaker. We wanted to have this level of simplicity, but it's behind here actually. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. what an interior. Now, it's got supercar looks, and we'll shut this down now. But it's also got supercar performance. So let's have a chat about what's in here, power plant wise. Because for me, the fascinating thing about this car is there are two powertrain options.
Yeah.
You can have the V6, 620 horsepower, if I remember right, or you can have a full battery electric.
Yeah. Actually, we gave the possibility to the customers to choose because we have both technologies. You know, we are going in this transition towards the electric car, so we gave the possibility to the customers to choose. Most of it was not a surprise. Most of them, they chose the ICE cars, so the petrol engine cars. But we have some customers that wanted to have the first Alfa Romeo supercar electric.
And they'll get the more exclusive car, right?
They get the most exclusive car, of course, and I can tell you it's even more powerful than the petrol engine. It's just a different choice, let's say. Just for the curiosity of it, we had even some customers or one customer that asked to have both. The last, what he thought, but it's not going to be the last petrol engine supercar from Alfa Romeo, and the first electric. Finally, we decided not because we have a big waiting list for this car, more than 50 people.
It's not fair if someone has two.
It's not fair, so we decided not to fulfill his dream, let's say.
I think as we come around the back, these big hips on the back, and then it just feeds into. This is the view most people are going to see on the road, right? Seeing as it driving away, the detail on the lights and these vents that come out from here and the carbon work is just stunning. Yeah,
actually, this is one of the areas where the customer can also personalize the car. We have a high degree of personalization with the wheels, colors, Scudetto, some parts, and here at the back actually also those outlets which are functional because they take pressure out of the wheel arch, so they work, they have a function, but they can be covered with a body color except the indicator which is here. They can be completely covered. I think very few, but a few customers that actually decided to go for the fully covered version, which emphasizes even more the shape of the coda tronca. Here also you see the original cars had different solutions and this is what we have done also on this new Stradale. You can have one single outlet for the warm engine air of the engine, or 4 different ones, or nothing at all. This is the kind of things that actually the customer, they also like to think about and to make its own choice.
I think what for me, I love the fact it's such an elegant car. You see a lot of supercars nowadays with big aero devices on the back, big wings, and swan necks seem to be the kind of aero device of choice. Not on this car. I guess a lot of underbody aero instead.
This was another challenge. I told you about the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And then the other big challenge was not to do spoilers that spoil the air, let's say. So this was a big request from the customers. They said, listen guys, try to do something that doesn't have spoilers because they break down, they are weight, they are complicated. So we set this as a target with the engineers and the designers. We did a lot of aerodynamic testing, CFD, so virtual testing, but also physical testing with a full-size mock-up in the wind tunnel that we have Alfa Romeo in Orbassano near Turin. And we spent weeks actually making sure that we achieved the maximum speed, 333 kilometers per hour, and a perfect balance front and rear at maximum speed without the help of any dynamic devices, so without spoilers. It was hard, but the body itself creates a lot of natural downforce. Basically, thanks to the front end that is pretty low, the shape of the fenders, if you look from here, is quite dramatic how it goes down. We had to do some modifications required by the engineers, but they were fine. Like from the first design model, we raised around 25, 30 millimeters the rear end in order to create the right downforce, and then all the work underneath of the car, which has been impressive. I mean, what you see actually in the rear diffuser is being designed, but it's basically the request and the design of the aerodynamics. It's been completely, let's say, designed by the aerodynamics.
Wow. Let's wander around the side. There's a few things I want to talk about here. First off, I'm a big fan of door mirrors. They seem to be a dying trend now. You get lots of cars now with little cameras and things. These are so beautiful and sculpted, and you can see the kind of fins that come down the side there, and then this intake with the detailing. It kind of follows that.
Actually, I will tell you something about the mirror, because again, coming back to the function versus design, it's a mirror that is being designed with an aerodynamic shape, very much in plan view. You see it's quite long, but pretty thin. So, because to have the required vision at the back, I mean, on the mirror, you have to have a dimension. If you make it very short, it will be very square. If you make it really long, it could be much more profiled, let's say. So the shape itself is very aerodynamic to reduce noise and drag, because the noise is very important. At a high speed, you don't want to have something that makes a lot of noise beside your face. But then also the mirror, the feet of the mirror was designed in order to allow the flow of the air going inside of the air intake. It was a big challenge, because the air intake in this position is the original position of the 33 Stradale from 1967. We wanted to have it there, but it's not the most efficient area to put an air intake. Normally you put it a little bit more upwards. So it was a big challenge. We work a lot in order to make the flow go inside. We even had to do a little leap in carbon fiber to catch the right amount of air to have the maximum power, to achieve the maximum power and the maximum speed. But it was fundamental to work on the full-size model on the wind tunnel to design the fit of the mirror. So it's if you see it with the smoke, you see exactly how the air goes inside. So it's one of the things that was more rewarding to arrive to the target in aerodynamics, but also the amount of air that we needed inside of the car. It was quite
See, that's why I love
spending
time with designers and finding out. You'd look at that, but to actually understand there's form follows function, and very cool. Now, we actually put a poll out yesterday on social media and asked for some questions.
Excellent.
So we have some questions for you. If you stand next to the car, and I'll so the first one. So 33 came from the Bottega, Alfa Romeo Bottega. design studios. And basically the question is, would you consider a future version of the 1965 Giulia Sprint GTA? Now, if you're Alfisti, that's a really famous car, right? So, because and then it's sure that would be a big hit.
Surely. You know, this is the beauty of Alfa Romeo. We have such a great history that the problem is to choose exactly which car you're going to make next. It depends a lot, I have to say, from the architecture of the car, from the typology of vehicles that these kind of customers want to have, and so on. So we have a few ideas. I can tell you that, or I can tell our friend that we are starting now to think which will be the next car, which will be announced around early 2026, mid-2026. Yeah, and we'll see what we come with at that time. Yeah, could be.
There's fans out there waiting for it. So now, this question for me: will you be designing more beautiful cars like the 33 for the masses? And I think the answer to that is you just have, and it's in Electric Avenue. It's called the Junior, and it's stunning. And I'm not just saying that. I drove it in Italy 2 weeks ago,
fantastic,
and it's just an amazing car to drive. Yeah. I went to see it in the studio earlier this year, and static. It looked. I'd love to know the kind of the feed in from design language to this car into the kind of normal cars for normal people, but it drives fantastically.
Absolutely. Actually, they are different animals, I would say. Obviously, this car has, let's say, has a connection with the past, very strong, because there was is the recreation, the modern reinterpretation of a car that existed. So we kept, as I was saying before, this fine balance between respect of the original design, but also the modernity that the customers want to have. They don't want to have a replica, let's say, of the 33 Stradale. They want to have a modern 33 Stradale. So this car is being designed really with this kind of thinking in mind. But the philosophy, let's say, the sportiveness, the elegance, or the brutality, because all of this is part of the Alfa Romeo world that we have on this car, is being transformed or is being translated also in another format, in another typology, which is the Junior, and will be carried on the next Stelvio, on the next Giulia. Junior, let's say, is the first step towards a very ambitious range of cars that we want for Alfa Romeo. So we will have a little bit of everything. We will have crossovers, we will have sedans, we will have some other cars that will be, let's say, done or designed by the same team, because the same team that designed this car designed the Junior and designed the Stelvio and the Giulia, but every car has its own personality. Just to maybe explain it in another way, you have to think of a family with different brothers, let's say, where the young one, which is the Junior, has a personality, you know, is the tricky one, the cocky one.
It's having driven it around Bolocco 2 weeks ago, it has personality.
But then when you design, let's say, a bigger brother, a Stelvio or a Giulia, obviously the ingredients, the more mature car gets a different physiognomy, gets a different behavior, they gets a different stance, let's say. So the philosophy, yes, between this car and the car for the masses, but not necessarily the same eyes or the same nose or the same thing. They are all part of the family because we are the same people doing or creating the family.
Just a question, as we go forward into this, at the moment, all-electric future and all-electric Alfa Romeo, when you're designing cars, I think there's a danger with some cars we're seeing come to market. They're all kind of looking very similar. They're all almost look like they've been made from the same cookie cutter. With a petrol car, you've got an engine to differentiate yourself. You've got a gearbox. With an EV platform, is your view to kind of differentiate by looks and design and handling? Where do you get that differentiation from? I
think, first of all, you're right. I mean, It's really hard for designers now because the aerodynamics in the electric world are extremely important. They have always been important, but now when we talk about range, we talk about something else. It's not just consumption, it's arriving at home or not arriving at home because you don't have the range because the aerodynamics are not good. So aerodynamics dictate, they are universal, and they dictate a little bit the good recipes in cars. After you can as a designer, you can do the trade. I can be good in one part, I can be a little bit less good in another to compensate. We did it in the junior, we are excellent at the back with the Coda Tronca, which is very Alfa Romeo, and a little bit less maybe on the side because I wanted to have more sculpture, which is, let's say, goes against aerodynamics somehow. But in the end result is excellent because of this trading that you do. Regulations also make the car looking more alike, maybe. So it's the whole thing is not just the electric transformation, I would say, but the regulations are the finance constraints are also the same for all of us in the same segment. So all that makes that maybe some people might have the impression that the cars look similar, but here in Goodwood, if you see cars of the 30s, they were pretty similar also, because the technology available was the same. Or on the 30s, if you think it was difficult sometimes to find the difference between a Talbot Lago and a Bugatti, sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So this has been always in the auto industry. This willingness to differentiate cars, this willingness, and then this fight also to differentiate cars, and will be always there. With electrification, gets a bit more tricky, and as you say, the difference is how you find the other things that can make also the difference between cars. We have great engineers in Alfa Romeo. They made what you saw, what you tested in Balocco. The car is amazing. We promised that a few months ago.
You did, and you promised it. Everybody in that studio shoot said it's going to drive amazing, and I'm like, well, I hope it does, and it really did.
Yeah, it was a bit of, I remember, so we will see. The car is amazing, we delivered. Yeah. And this is the combination of the design and the driving abilities. This is what it makes an Alfa Romeo fine.
That makes me very excited for Giulia and Stelvio as well.
There will be, I can promise you, also great drivings.
What sort of time frame do we see Giulia and Stelvio with, roughly?
You will see actually Stelvio next year and the Giulia the year after. So we've been busy these 3 years. I mean, we have done the 33 Stradale Junior, Stelvio basically finished the design, Giulia also, and we are starting now in the next family. We are always 4 or 5 years ahead of our time, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Now I'm going to wrap up this Q&A with the final question. You design beautiful Alfa Romeos, but if you were to have one Alfa Romeo from any of the cars that have ever been made by Alfa Romeo, your dream Alfa,
for me personally, to have it as an owner. Wow, that's a difficult.
Don't have to worry about how much it costs or how practical.
If I can go to the museum and steal one at night.
Well, no, I was at the museum last week and there's lots to steal.
Steal one. Difficult, and my answer can change every day. But I think one car that I would love to have and to drive is the 8C 2.9 to 2900 Le Mans. By Carrozzeria Touring from 1938. It's a car that is, the proportion is just amazing. The aerodynamics are very intuitive with this teardrop shape of the cabin. I mean, it's a car that is almost 5 meters. Fantastic. I love it.
There we go. Wow.
But tomorrow I will tell you maybe another one because we have thanks God, we have a huge and a beautiful history.
Well, it's just been fascinating and a real privilege to walk around the car. Thank you so much for your time, guys.
You're welcome.
Big thanks to Alejandro for showing us around the 33 Stradale, a beautiful car. And the next thing, I just can't wait to actually have a go at driving one.
Next year, or in a few months, actually.
We'll have that conversation offline. Thank you, sir. Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, Alejandro Mesonero.
Thank you.